Hey folks, Mike Dawkins from Worldcast Anglers here with your Jackson Hole weekend fly fishing forecast for the weekend of June 18th and 19th. It's a gorgeous afternoon here in the greater Jackson Hole and Teton Valley area. Lots of sunshine, daytime temperatures in the low 80s, some good strong Idaho afternoon wind. And after the previous rain and the ultra cold spring that we've been having, it couldn't be even more welcome than it is. While we did receive some rain like our counterparts did to the north of us and to the east of us, like the greater Paradise Valley, we didn't receive anything like that on the terms of amounts. The area around Island Park definitely received a lot of rain, but we received, maybe like half an inch, 3/4 of an inch down here, where areas of Yellowstone was receiving 2 to 3 inches of rain on top, of 5 to 6 inches of snow melt, which turned into this, disastrous, biblical flood that you're seeing all over the news and everything like that. First and foremost, our thoughts go out to all of our buddies and fishing operators up there in Paradise Valley, Livingston, Immigrant, Gardner, Red Lodge, even our buddies on the Madison that are dealing with some really high turbid flows coming out of Hebgen Lake and things like that. Getting ready for the summer season and what we've been dealing with the pandemic. We thought, it was sort of going to be easy going this year, but never, Mother Nature never lets you go easy. So if there are some opportunities for crowdfunding or crowdsourcing out there to support some of these outfitters and these guides that are going to lose a huge chunk of their summer and you can make an impact or be generous, we highly suggest that you do so. The South Fork of the Snake, the Teton, the Snake and Jackson, the Henry's Fork, we saw some rises in water levels. We also saw decreases of water levels, coming out of Palisades Dam. They got nothing like they did up there, in the Paradise Valley area of Montana or that northern Yellowstone regional area. The Teton in the valley got pretty high yesterday. We saw some turbidity on the Henry's Fork, but this is all sort of normal spring weather that we've been seeing. Nothing of sorts of what you've been seeing on the news and things like that. It's actually been very productive for us to have this late season moisture, it's been helping our long-term drought. Are we out of the drought? Absolutely not. But is this precipitation that we've been having these past 2 to 3 weeks helping? Absolutely. Today we're looking at Jackson Lake around 43% of capacity. Palisades Reservoir 67% of capacity. And you'll see those grow, 2 or 3 points, maybe even overnight. These next couple of evenings. Water managers were saying that Jackson Lake wasn't going to get over 35% from their forecasts, and we're already looking at maybe climbing up there around 50% of capacity. So these are all good things moving forward. It just hasn't come in the big slug that you've been seeing on the news and everything like that. Saturday, it looks like 77 and 49, mostly sunny, awesome. Late spring, early summer day. Sunday it looks like 65 and 40 with some afternoon showers, and we're supposed to get cooled off here on Monday and Tuesday again, with some daytime temperatures in the 60s with some more precipitation, there to come. So looking into our fishing opportunities this coming weekend, they are going to be limited. We've got runoff happening on the Snake. We've got runoff happening on, the Teton, the Grays, the Salt, all of these freestone river systems. They're seeing this rain event come through, and they're also seeing snow melt at the same time. So what that is going to leave you is with some of our tailwaters in the area and our still water options. So the South Fork of the Snake, 7,840 CFS being discharged from Palisades Dam, 8,200 CFS there on the lower river. We actually saw flows decrease coming out of Palisades Dam in the past couple days as water managers try to store more water in Palisades Reservoir, and consumptive water users downstream aren't needing the water right now because the soil saturation is so extreme and they've been receiving so much precipitation that they don't need it. So we've actually been pushed back into a storage mentality instead of a usage mentality from this past rain event. Clarity top to bottom on the South Fork of the Snake is really good this time of year. Fishing is really good this time of year. The water temperatures are still cold. It's still mostly a nymphing game. Rubber legs, zebra midges, San Juan worms, Duracells, bullet quills, BWO imitations, things along those lines have been really productive. We've seen Section 3 and Section 4 be probably the most consistent, and we're thinking that's obviously because of warmer water temps there on the lower river, as you get further downriver from the dam. If you're fishing the upper or the upper canyon, the fishing has been really good up there too. It just hasn't been as consistent as the lower river, but you've got some great fishing opportunities on the South Fork of the Snake this coming weekend. Great flows. If you're interested in doing an overnight, this is probably a good weekend to do it with the weather and the flows and the fishing quality before the summer season pops here in the greater Jackson Hole area. The Henry's Fork, 1,230 CFS there on the upper river, 2,290 on the lower river. While the Henry's Fork has been more affected from this recent rain event, things are starting to settle out a little bit up there. We've seen increased turbidity in all sections of the Henry's Fork, so we're not seeing the clarity that we normally use, and we've seen some fluctuations in flows. We saw flows coming out of Island Park Dam increased 2 or 3 times this week as water managers try to keep Island Park Dam full, Island Park Reservoir full as they did, and so they've been having to increase discharge to make sure that things don't get dangerous there on the reservoir. So unfortunately for the ranch opener, they had that 1,250 CFS that had been jacked up the past couple days. That isn't the greatest thing for small dry fly fishing and head hunting, but hey, you know what? We'll take it. We could be in a situation like our friends, in the northern Yellowstone area. The Box Canyon has been really good fishing. It's been hard because of all of the water that's been in there, but if you can find those softer spots and you can get those nymphs deep and keep them in there, that's been a very productive method. Not much of the dry dropper fishing or dry fly fishing per se there in the Box Canyon or the Riverside area because of these high flows and the turbidity in flows. The lower Mesa area, Warm River to Ashton, things start to settle out a little bit, but that clarity and turbidity is still marginal. We're seeing some okay dry fly fishing and dry dropper fishing in those sections, especially with golden stones paired with tungsten tactical jigs, bullet quills, perdigons, any of that kind of stuff. Streamer fishing has been a tad on and off. We're starting to see PMDs, there around Ora, Vernon, as well as Warm River. That's been providing some good small dry fly fishing activity, and it could be any day now, if not today, that we see the famous green drakes start on the lower river and start climbing themselves up, which is going to offer probably, in my opinion, some of the best dry fly fishing in our area for that season. So be on the lookout for those green drakes there on the lower Henry's Fork to start here soon. The Teton in the valley, 899 CFS, 2,150 CFS there on the lower river. The Teton crested yesterday. We were in a minor flood stage. We started to see the river spilling out as water saturation in the valley was widespread. Water was spreading out into a lot of ag fields and private property and things along the river. Yesterday when I looked at the Teton, it was around 1,480 CFS, so we've almost seen it cut in half in about a 24-hour span. So things are on the way down after that rain has been happening. The clarity on the Teton is quite poor. If you do get out there in a window of good clarity as things are dropping and clearing, I'd suggest fishing some darker streamers, and black, purple, brown, and things along those lines can be really productive on the Teton when it's dropping and clearing. JJ Specials, stuff like that can be a lot of fun. The Teton can drop and clear pretty darn quick, as we're seeing. We still have a good amount of snow to come down, but not as much as I was saying, the past couple weeks. That rain on top of snow event that we had definitely cooked some stuff out, and so we should be seeing the Teton drop into prime summertime shape right in the summertime window. The Snake in Jackson, 2,510 CFS coming out of Jackson Lake Dam, 11,100 CFS there on the lower river before the Salt and the Grays. We saw flows, including the Salt and the Grays, going into Palisades Reservoir this week, somewhere around 22,000 CFS. So the Snake, similarly to the Teton, is cresting over, and things are starting, to drop and get a little less rowdy out there. The clarity is still quite poor. The only good water clarity that you're going to find is from Jackson Lake Dam. to Pacific Creek that normally stays clear all year. You know, look, if you are going to fish or float that section, look for lake trout to be stuck sort of in those discharge pools below Jackson Lake Dam. An intermediate line or a type 3 line with some sparse clousers, crelexes, or white streamers can be a lot of fun this time of year. And then into the oxbows and things along those lines, that water can be a little challenging for the normal fly angler, but you can throw some streamers. You may see some fish eating some dries like some caddis or baetis or early calabaetis and things along those lines. And you can at least get on the water locally if you're tied to the snake there. Yellowstone National Park, all entrances are still closed. We were on a call with other commercial use authorized personnel today. They're shooting, you know, for the southern loop of Yellowstone to be open next week, sometime midweek. But they still have a lot of work ahead of them. You know, imagine, you know, the entire national park centralized just on the southern loop. It may be too many people. They don't know. They have a lot on their plate right now. That'll open up some other fishing opportunities up there. The Madison and the Firehole pre-flood and rain were fishing really good with caddis, blue wing olives, and PMDs on sunny days. We were seeing some golden stones and salmon flies there on the lower Madison, right outside of the park, as well as the Firehole Canyon. I don't know what it's going to look like, you know, getting back in there. I don't think those flows got too high, but, you know, anytime you get flows like that, it will displace bug life. It'll change things up. It may take a little bit. It may take until fall, you know, to get back up there and see things fishing somewhat consistently. You know, it's just a crapshoot of what you're going to see. But when that southern entrance opens too, the Lewis Lake should open up. You know, the drakes and the dry fly fishing, as well as fishing to cruising fish on Lewis Lake, can be a lot of fun this time of year once the entrances open, if you're looking for a stillwater opportunity. You know, as we start to see runoff in a lot of our freestones, you know, we start to see anglers congregate on those areas like the South Fork or the Henry's Fork where things get really busy. Don't forget about your stillwaters. Henry's Lake, Island Park Reservoir, Jenny Lee and String Lake, and Grand Teton National Park, as well as Jackson Lake, can offer some awesome fly fishing opportunities in the spring, and they usually go unnoticed, where you're usually the only person there. You know, type 3, type 6 lines, bead-headed leeches, damselfly nymphs, chrononomids, zebra midges, you know, calabaetis nymphs. All of that kind of stuff can be a lot of fun this time of year, especially on some of our stillwaters. So go give them a try and get away from the crowds. That's all I've got coming into this weekend. Thanks for tuning in. The Fly Shop is open on full summer hours from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. every day, Monday through Sunday. So stop in if you're coming over here to fish the South Fork, or you're going up to fish the Henry's Fork. Get your fishing license. We're fully stocked for anything and everything you need. So stop in, say hey. We'd love to see everybody this late spring and early summer season. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great weekend and a safe weekend on the water, and we'll see you here next week.